Cyrano de Bergerac by Edmond Rostand, Act 2. At the end of Act 1, we have Cyrano going to fight 100 men to save his friend Linaire, who upset a powerful person. Also at the end of Act 1, we had Roxane's duenna come to Cyrano and say, Roxane wants to talk to you tomorrow at Ragueneau's pastry shop, and Cyrano is thrilled. Welcome to Cyrano de Bergerac by Edmond Rostand, Act 2. The setting is Ragueneau's pastry shop. It's early in the morning, and the shop is bustling with all kinds of pastry cooks making things and talking and getting ready for the day. We are inside the shop, so this is the inside door. This is the window that would look out. People would walk on the street. Here, people would see pastries on the inside. Ragueneau is obsessed with poetry, and his recipes are often in rhyme. And so he's spouting off recipes in these rhymes, and one of the cooks delights him with a pastry lyre. A lyre is a musical instrument that looks kind of like this right here. And he thinks it's fabulous and notices the little candied jewel, the candies that look like jewels. It's adorable. So Ragueneau is getting his shop ready. His wife, Lise, comes into the shop and she's angry. She brings paper bags and Ragueneau notices, so that they could wrap the pastries in, and Ragueneau notices, wait a second, Lise. Ragueneau notices, these are my poems. These all have poetry on them. And so he's mourning over the reused paper that have the poems, and these poems will be lost. And he goes into all like these mythological names and things you might recognize studying Greek and Roman mythology. And he's so sad about losing these. Lise is very angry at Ragueneau for giving away their pastries to the poets that come to the shop. So he gives them pastries and they give him poems. And so she doesn't like it. And so she has this sword for a tongue because she's a sharp-tongued woman. Okay, 2 children come into the shop, and Lise turns her back and she's doing something else. And 2 children come in and say, well, we want 3 pies. And Ragueneau says, okay, you can have 3 pies. But then when he goes to get the paper, he can't decide which paper to give them because he loves all the poems. And then when she's turned away, he says, come back here, children. If you return these papers, I will give you 3 more pies for free. That's how much he loves poetry. So Cyrano comes into the bakery shop, the pastry shop, and Ragueneau notices that Cyrano is very jumpy and very nervous, and he keeps asking, what time is it? And Lise notices that Cyrano has a cut on his hand. Well, his cut is from fighting off 100 men the night before, but he kind of pushes it off and doesn't respond. A musketeer comes into the pastry shop as well. And Cyrano asks Ragueneau about it. Ragueneau says, the musketeer is a friend of my wife's. Some poets come into the pastry shop and they sit down and they're eating some of the delicious desserts and they're complimenting the desserts in a poetic way, and it thrills Ragueneau. Cyrano tries to write a letter to Roxane. So he goes over by himself and he wants to write a letter telling Roxane how he feels about her. And then Ragueneau leaves to go do something else. And Cyrano takes this opportunity to tell Lise that he will not have her cheating on her husband with this musketeer. The musketeer overhears this and will not even challenge Cyrano because he knows what a great fighter he is. At last, the duenna and Roxane arrive. Cyrano doesn't want anybody around, and Ragueneau helps that everybody kind of gets sent away so that Cyrano can spend time with Roxane. So first, he asks the duenna if she likes treats, and she says yes. He asks her some specific things. He shoves something in her mouth and sends her out the door to go eat the pastries so he can be alone with Roxane. So she gets sent away too. So now we have Cyrano and Roxane together. And they start reminiscing about when they were kids. And Cyrano talks about Roxanne being young and making dolls, and she talks about Cyrano pretending to fight, and they have a little bit of a laugh, and she points out, are you still my big brother or cousin, that my family, are you still close with me? Because I need to tell you something. Oh, wait, what is going on with your hand? And she sees that his hand is hurt and says, oh, just like when we were kids, you would get hurt, and I would try and be so adult and nurse your hand. So then she starts cleaning his hand, and Cyrano is super happy that he's just there with her and that she's remembered him. And she starts and then he reminds her, tell me what you came to tell me. And she starts telling him, I love someone. And they don't know it. And I see him trying. And Cyrano the whole time is thinking, oh, this could be me. And then she tells more and says, he's a soldier. And he's in your guard. And Cyrano's like delighted. His heart is beating. He's super excited. And then she describes him as proud and noble and brave. And Cyrano's all those things. And then she says, and beautiful. His heart breaks in that moment because he doesn't think that he's beautiful. So Cyrano realizes, it's not me. It's got to be somebody else. So then she goes on and tells him that it's Christian de Neuvillette. And Cyrano says, well, he's not in the guard, so it couldn't be him. And Roxanne says, no, he actually is in the guard. He just signed up this morning under Carbon du Casteljaloux. So he is in the guard. He is not from that area, though. He is not from, Gascony is an area in France, and all of the guys on this, all the cadets under him, under this guard, they are from Gascony. And Roxanne knows that anyone who joins this group that's not from that area will get teased, and she's worried about Christian, and he's brand new in the area. So she says to Cyrano, will you please take care of him for me? Will you make sure he never gets in a fight? And Cyrano reluctantly says, yes, I will take care of him for you. She says, I love you. You're the best. You're so great. Please have him write me a letter. Tell me through him your story of fighting off all those 100 men. He'll write me a letter, and then I'll know about your big fight. Then I can hear from him. So Cyrano agrees to this. All right, so Roxanne leaves, and Cyrano is sad. He didn't give her the letter. Now he knows. It's not he who she loves. Cyrano is here, and in come a bunch of cadets from Carbon de Casteljaloux company. And so he and a bunch of cadets come in and say, hey, tell us what happened last night when you fought those 100 men. We want to hear all about it. And Carbon's saying, hey, come on, Cyrano, tell us. And Cyrano's just too sad. He doesn't want to give any details. Well, there's a musketeer among them, too. Let's keep him here. In walks our bad guy, De Guiche. And he comes in, and this company decides to give him a salute or a welcome with a song. And it's this cool little chant, and they all stand and they do this cool thing. And it's awesome. Then De Guiche tells Cyrano that his uncle, Cardinal Richelieu, remember the guy that's over the French Academy for writers and poets, that he has an opportunity for Cyrano. Cyrano could maybe write for this French Academy, for Richelieu, who's super powerful, very well-known, famous guy. And Cyrano goes on this long speech about, I would never, because I know that Richelieu would change some of my writing, and I would not change a single comma. So he's very proud of his own poetry, he's very proud of his work, and he doesn't want anyone editing it. All right, so Cyrano has told De Guiche, I am not going to write for Richelieu, and among all of this, a cadet comes in with a bunch of hats on a sword, and they are the hats of some of the men that Cyrano had been fighting, the 100 men that he'd been fighting the night before. And De Guiche reveals, I'm the one who sent those 100 men to kill Linaire. And everyone's kind of mad about that. Then the crowd dissipates, so everybody leaves, these guys are still here. So all the cadets are still there with Cyrano. And Lebray, Cyrano's best friend, remember, he's there too. He's one of the cadets. And he argues that Cyrano is ruining his chances to become a successful man or a famous poet. And he says, this is straight from the book, or the play, you have done it now. This is Lebray. You have done it now. You have made your fortune. Has Cyrano made his fortune? No, he's saying the opposite of what he means. Therefore, he's using verbal irony, because Cyrano did not make his fortune. He just kind of crushed his chances. And Cyrano responds that he's only going to live by his own integrity. He's not interested in making friends with unworthy men. Then suddenly, who enters? Christian. So Christian enters the room. And Christian starts talking with some of the cadets, and they tell him, look, don't make fun of Cyrano's nose. They get to tease behind Cyrano's back, but don't make fun of his nose, whatever you do. So remember, Christian is new, and they're kind of giving him a hard time and teasing him about being brand new. Well, he's not sure what to do, so he asks Carbone, what should I do? And Carbone actually essentially tells him, take down the top dog to show that you're brave. So Christian has this idea of what he's going to do next. The cadets finally convince Cyrano to tell the story of fighting the 100 men. So Cyrano gets all excited. He's willing to do it now. And he sits down and he's telling all these details. And every once in a while, every chance that he gets, Christian interrupts with a reference to Cyrano's nose. So he finishes Cyrano's sentences with references to his nose. There are a lot of nose puns. Cyrano is trying to not be angry, and he finally finds out that it's actually Christian, who he's supposed to protect. And he's super mad about it. Christian keeps doing it, and finally Cyrano's just filled with anger, and he sends everybody out. Everybody goes away. It's just Cyrano and Christian. They all think that Cyrano's gonna kill him. As soon as everyone's gone, Cyrano says, into my arms? And Christian says, sir? And then he points out, I'm Roxanne's brother. You're her brother? Well, cousin, same thing. So finally they connect that, oh, we should be friends, even though Cyrano kind of did want to kill him. So, rather than kill him, he embraces him, they connect, and says, you need to write Roxanne a letter. So he wants Roxanne to be happy. You need to write her a letter. And Christian says, I'm too stupid. I can't write her a letter. As soon as she reads my words, she's going to hate me. And then Cyrano has an amazing idea. This powerful idea of writing letters for Christian. Well, I'll write letters for you. And then you could use my words. I have the words. You have the looks. We'll make her happy. And then Christian's like, well, what do you have? What's in this for you? And he says, oh, it's just comic poetry. But inwardly, he wants to express how he feels for Roxanne. So this is this great agreement that they've come to. Cyrano will have the words and Christian will have the looks. And Christian agrees, they embrace again, and then all the cadets come in and see them embracing. They can't believe that Christian is actually alive. So the cadets feel like Cyrano's a little bit different right now. And then Lisa's musketeer thinks that he can come in and just say whatever he wants about Cyrano's nose now. So he makes a snide remark, and Cyrano basically whacks him, and he falls over a bench. And all the cadets cheer because they realize, oh, Cyrano's back to normal. And that ends Act 2.